The Undertaker is dead. Can you believe the irony? But after 30 years of questioning the man behind the big cape and the weird hat, The Undertaker, or Mark Calloway, is now doing the promotional rounds to obviously promote the new WWE Network documentary known as The Last Ride. If you haven't seen it, you've got to check it out. It's brilliant. And when he has been doing these interviews, he even told us about the cucumber thing. And if you don't know, there was always this rumor that The Undertaker was scared of cucumbers, and someone just said, "Look, brah, are you scared of cucumbers?" And he said, "No, I just don't like them, but if you do chop them up in front of me, I'm gonna chase you out the room." That's a true story. The coolest thing so far, at least from my vantage point, is that we actually also found out kinda how The Undertaker judged his opponents. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's why you've clicked this video. My name is Simon Miller. Let's do it. Coming from the Pardon My Take podcast, who did indeed have a little chat with The Undertaker, and again, you should go listen to that too, because it's just so fascinating, Mark Calloway had this to say about his extravagant entrances. Well, a lot of times my entrance would depend on my opponent, okay? Like if I was working with somebody that was pretty limited or thought I was gonna have a real shibby match, he didn't say that, but you know what I'm saying, I was like, man, I'm gonna get my money's worth out of this entrance. There was times where I'd actually take a little bit of extra time because I knew the match was gonna be horrible, so I figured I may as well give it to them on the entrance because they are gonna be disappointed when the bell rings. Of course, he's talking about the audience there, and I'll be damned. Now, we are absolutely going to speculate who he may be referencing in just 1 second, but think of what you've just learned. While we as nerdy wrestling fans have sat there and pointed our finger at certain wrestlers and gone, well, he's rubbish and he can't work and he absolutely sucks and we should take him and put him in a cannon and fire him to the moon, The Undertaker, who has a pretty good mind for the wrestling business, was thinking exactly the same thing. He's not an idiot, he gets it, and you actually learn more about this when you hear other stories from other people. On the Something to Wrestle with Bruce Pritchard podcast, Bruce has told the story time and time again about how The Undertaker is still mad at him today in 2020, because of course at WrestleMania 9, the match between The Undertaker and Giant Gonzalez was booked. Now, not only did that kind of suck, but the finish actually technically also ruined the streak. Because if you don't know, The Undertaker won by disqualification after the Giant Gonzalez had used chloroform. Chloroform? Who the hell uses chloroform? I'm still not over it, and it happened in 1993. That's how dumb it was. I have some wrestling friends I have a little group with, and we will still send messages going, ha ha ha, chloroform. But not in a million years did I think that Taker put the fans first to such a degree that he would weigh up his opponent and then structure his entrance based on that. And I went and watched the WrestleMania 9 Undertaker entrance, and it lasts pretty much exactly 2 minutes. Some matches don't go that long. I love it. But if you then go and look at something like Judgment Day 2006, when he was fighting the Great Khali, where I timed his entrance there too, and it was 90 seconds. You may go, well, that doesn't sound that long. But look, this wasn't like a WrestleMania rampway. This rampway was small, and you can just tell that the dead man is taking his time. So maybe I'm reading into it, maybe I'm not, but he must have done it on some occasion because he came out here and admitted it, and I like to think that deep down his opponent knew. Hell, maybe Mark Calloway went up to them beforehand and just said, look, you suck. Watch the entrance. Like I say though, if you really do finally, after all this time, want a behind the scenes look into his career and into the person, you got to seek out this podcast and everything else that he's doing. I mean, he talked about the Inferno match with Kane, and his initial response was, wait a minute, how am I meant to do any of my spots if the flipping ring is on fire? And he will still leave the room if he needs to sneeze in front of Vince McMahon. So that rumor is 100% true. The boss doesn't like sneezing. If you do it in front of him, he thinks you're weak. And even now, after a relationship that has lasted years, Mark Calloway, he will get out of Dodge. And talking about the brotherhood that they do have, yeah, also Undertaker said, do not think I wanted the WrestleMania streak to go 24-0 and 25-0. Of course I did, but I put business first. And that's what the man wanted, so that's what the man got. And I can't do that justice either. I mean, it always stood to reason that Vince McMahon and The Undertaker must be pretty close, because look how long they've been together, and look at all the other guys that have come and gone in that time. Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, Triple H, you can find stories about all of those where they kind of fell out with Vince, but with The Undertaker, I mean, it happened with StarCast. Remember that? He was going to be in StarCast, and then it all changed? That's kind of it. And also, talking about the Last Ride documentary specifically, if you go and watch the latest one, which I think is episode 2, as I'm saying these words, the cameraman or the interviewer says to Vince, hey, let's talk about how much The Undertaker means to you. Vince McMahon can't do it. He wells up, he gets all emotional, he starts to cry, he tells the production team to stop filming. We are living in the strangest timeline. The world don't woke anymore, the world broke, and we're also learning about a dead dude who's a zombie. We also know, when we go back to talking about The Undertaker judging his opponents, that he 100% judged AJ Styles. While in storyline it was AJ Styles that wanted to take out The Undertaker, in reality Mark Calaway had seen him work, thought he was very similar to Shawn Michaels and went, ha ha, if I work with the phenomenal AJ Styles, now obviously known as the immortal AJ Styles, I can have this one last big match, this great exit that I've been looking for, and I can finally walk into the sunset. Because yes, that's what WrestleMania 33 was meant to be. That's why he left his hat in the ring and did all that hoo-ha, hee-hee. He was going to retire, but he thought the match with Roman sucked, so he just kept going and going and going and going. And also, the fact that we did have to change things up and have the Boneyard match because fans aren't allowed into buildings and blah, 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 I would imagine that we are going to get AJ Styles versus The Undertaker Part 2. It will be in front of human beings, and if it goes well, maybe that's it. And that will also make you go, what? Because again, 10 years ago, AJ Styles, he couldn't even get a sniff at WWE, and now he's one of the most important people in the company. What I will say is that for ages we've always been told that The Undertaker is a locker room leader, and again that he puts business first, and now I don't think there's no debating it. He doesn't hold back, he's gone out of his way to try and make WWE and wrestling better, and he's even candid about the Montreal Screwjob. I know we're all bored of that, but he said, I was super pissed, I was super mad. I'll give you the quote. I was pissed. I mean, that's the first thing he said. I was pissed. I was pissed about the whole thing because I was like, I could have possibly been used to get what we needed. I mean, if we take Shawn out of this, let me do it and then I'll do business on the other side, and I think Bret probably would have gone for that. I mean, there was such disdain at the time between the two of them and Bret was leaving, but I was just like, if you had come to me with this too, and it's his company and he did what he thought was best, referencing Vince McMahon, but I was like, I think I could have helped this whole thing out. I'm gonna do business, but it happened, and I was really pissed. So he said pissed 3 times, #pissed. And that's why all this shit is gold, because you can now go out there and get actual opinions about monumental things that have happened in WWE from The Undertaker. And you may think, Simon, you're getting way too excited about this. Yes, but I was watching wrestling in the early 90s. I remember Survivor Series when The Undertaker turned up, and he has kept that character intact and hidden it away from us for so long that I still can't handle it. Like last year, there was that interview that he did with a preacher or a priest, and I watched that about 72 times because I just couldn't believe what I was hearing. And now there's so many of them. I mean, The Undertaker even did an interview with Ariel Helwani of all people. It's like you can just dance. You can dance in the craziness, and I can't keep up. But I think it's brilliant. It's why I like the fact that the streak was broken. The reason that was so emotional is because it had so much time invested in it, and so is this character, and now we're finally taking the hat and we're chucking it into the toilet. But I feel like it was worth the wait. It was worth my time, and I've learned that Mark Calaway seems like a pretty good dude. And that he absolutely loves wrestling, he absolutely loves WWE, he definitely loves Vince McMahon, and that he turned down outside opportunities to focus on sports entertainment. There you go. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let me know about all of this. What do you think about the documentary? What do you think about all these interviews? Maybe you hate the fact that the character of The Undertaker, the kayfabe version, is now dead, which he 100% is. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to What Culture Wrestling. It's right there and it's free. Head over to whatculture.com, read yourself some articles, follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. Watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture, and the last story I want to tell you is one that made me laugh out loud. This comes from the documentary as well. We are talking about how Michelle McCool and Mark Calaway got together, and as it turns out, the two people Michelle McCool didn't want to meet when she first entered World Wrestling Entertainment was Kane, who The Undertaker describes as the nicest man ever. So that's official, Glenn Jacobs is the nicest man ever, and the other, of course, was The Undertaker. And they never really said why, but I'm guessing that Michelle McCool was quite intimidated, and wouldn't you be? Imagine you joined World Wrestling Entertainment, WWE, the big dog, rah, 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 and you saw those two guys. You'd be like, oh, one, they're absolutely massive, but two, they are major stars. What the hell am I going to say to them? I mean, maybe you'd accidentally had a cucumber in your pocket, and then The Undertaker would hate you, and your career would be dead, all because of a vegetable. Or is it a fruit? I have no idea. Point is, flub cucumbers.